Hi everyone, it's Natalie. Early morning, having some coffee here. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday in July. I don't know. I haven't made a video in a little while and I thought I kind of just want to come on and make a little video, but I'm not dressed yet. I'm in my pajamas and I don't know what I want to make a video about. There's so many things I need to make a video about. So this is just going to be a rambling happy chat while I munch. The end of my macro bar here, which is theoretically healthy, but let's face it, it's just really tasty. And yeah, just kind of talk about what I've been up to. Found a hawk feather on a walk the other morning. Hawks are important to me, so that was pretty cool. Taking longer to chew this than I thought it would. I think I'll just grab this and shuffle it back in. So this is from the Tantric Dakini Oracle, which has become one of my new favorite decks on the planet, if not maybe like the favorite Oracle deck on the planet. I did a walkthrough, which I have not finished editing yet because it's hella long. It's like so long. And it really needs to be just cut down a little bit. Was the unboxing and first impressions. And I just love it. So I definitely want to like talk about it at length and, oh, I got twisted. And share it and, yeah, it's just an amazing freaking deck. I don't know why it took me so long to just pull the plug on it and go and just get it. And I can't even believe I'm saying, because like you look at the pictures, right, and it's like, oh, come on, really? Because it is very 70s. And yet, it is more impactful than I could ever have predicted. It's just, it just talks to me. It just talks to me. And it's very immediate and it's very chatty. And I absolutely freaking love it. I tend, as you know, not to be a backup copy person. This might be an exception. It might be an exception. I might need a backup. Who knows? It is really, it's just remarkable. Also, a little Buddha Tarot update here while let's move Dakini over here, while I shuffle back in the card from yesterday. So I edged the deck in red, as you can see. My new friend Sharon over at Trio of Witches also has the deck, and she edged and trimmed. And I think, and you'll see why in a moment, if you can't already, I can't see what angle I've got here with the computer, but I'm basically going to, I think I may go ahead and try that. She cut off the bottom and the top, and it made it riffle shuffleable, which I really want for this deck, and it's just wide enough and tall enough that I really struggle. Although I haven't tried it in a while. Yeah, it's a big struggle. And I have huge hands. Okay, it can be done. Just not very comfortably. So, it can be done. It's just not going to be comfortable at all. It does seem to have there's a lot going on with this deck. I have, I updated the printer and the publisher. I have a lovely contact there. Her name is Jen. And she is really so helpful and so kind. And she was right on top of things as soon as I sent her hey, by the way, just wanted you to know, had some issues with my copy. It does chip out of the box. It's often chipped already out of the box, according to people who've gotten in touch with me. And I passed all of this on. You know, the usual problems that come up in decks here and there, which is like, oh no, there's a card missing, right? Which happens. You know, all of those things happen. So she's aware now of that being an issue. And of course, they want to send me a second deck. So I will, as soon as I get it, I'll go ahead and unbox and talk through about that one. Which is really cool. And yeah, you know, that'll happen. That'll happen whenever it gets here. But I did want to kind of update around that a little bit. I probably should do a more formal one because I probably won't put this whole video on my playlist. But anyway, so there's that. You know, edging them really made a difference. I feel like it somehow changed the integrity of the card. Or the cards, plural. I don't know why. I don't know why it feels like that. But like the edges now and this is Sharpie. It was just a red chisel Sharpie. But it feels completely different when I hold it and work with it. So just an FYI, if you've got it and you're thinking about it, I'd say edging it is a good idea. I still have not repaired this 5 of Lotuses. I can't find my book glue, which is called PVA. I don't know where it is. I don't know why it would have gone missing. And it was the glue I wanted to use to repair this. It's not really expensive glue or anything, and it's not cheap either. I used some other glue from my bookmaking project that I've most recently done, which I'll share momentarily because it's really cool and I'm really excited to share it. But yeah, suffice it to say, I'm just holding off. And in the meantime, this card, this 5 of Lotuses, which is not like, we got to see this a little differently than we would see the ordinary 5 of Wands. First of all, because it's Robert in Place, and his 5 of Wands is usually 5 fingers lit, set alight, ready to create. And in this case, we've got the green hand of the Karma Buddha, or the, I guess, Visva Buddha, lack of a better word, because he's using the term Visva, which I still haven't Googled, or Rigpa Wikied. But it's essentially, it's the hand of Amoghasiddhi, which is the Buddha of the Karma family. And he's saying, don't be afraid. And that has been comforting on so many levels of late that I've just left it standing in I don't know if this is visible on camera or not, but it will be now, in my little Jamie Sawyer card holder, because there's so many things right now. There's so many things, there's monkeypox, and the discovery that the BA.5 variant of Omicron is, it's just likely to reinfect and create severe health issues long term, or seems to be more likely that that's the case. It's a matter of time. We don't know these things right away, right? We have to know them over time. That's how we learn about and study new viruses. But then there's Roe v. Wade that got overturned, and what's happening to women's rights, and what's happening to gay rights, what's happening with this ongoing attack on non-white people in the United States that seems unrelenting and crushing and worse and worse and worse all the time. There's a lot going on. This endless war in Ukraine that just is so distressing. There's just a lot, right? And this reminder, that as a humanity, we've been through this before, right? We've been through this before. We will be going through this again, I dare say. And it's not, we survive it, in the way that we are all on a more absolute level, right? Not a what's the word I want? Rather than on a relative level, right? The relative being like, this is me and my body in this lifetime. but on the more absolute level of humanity, and the concept that all of this goes on way before and way beyond just this one small, comparatively short and insignificant lifetime, there's really nothing to fear. It's been far worse. And that reminder, that's really the closest part of the truth, right? Is I just find it comforting. I mean, there are many people who do not find this perspective at all comforting, and if you're one of those people, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't create an anxiety or an existential sort of mini crisis for you. But the truth of the matter is, like, we're just a tiny link in the chain of humanity. This ocean of humanity that exists, whose nature, believe it or not, is really to be compassion and compassionate. But we forget, because we think we're the person we are right now. Which is also the beauty of this life, isn't it? It's, to think that we're this person in this body right now. It's kind of nice. And it's really not the whole truth. It just isn't. It's only part. So that's been helpful. That's been helpful as a reminder. So I've left it sitting here, and I've been using the deck hilariously without the Five of Lotuses. It is just an assumed part of my day. Before I received the deck, I had been playing with this one, which is the Red Seeds deck. And I went through, I've got it mixed. It's the, so you can see, like, on the back, one set has Rumi's quotes. I think this is the first Red Seeds. And then the ones from the second Red Seeds have Sappho. And I don't know, I just love this deck so much. I get so much comfort from it. I don't use it very often with clients because they tend not to, I don't know, the people I work with, it just hasn't been, well, that's not true. I've used it with a few people, now that I think of it, but it's not common. It's not one that I commonly, like, how are you going to explain the average person who doesn't know anything about it? How do you explain Sheila Nagig, right? How do I explain the finger and the bright red vagina? And, like, I don't know. I don't know. That's not an easy thing to do. And I do tend, in my personal practice to read for people who, or my professional practice to read for people who are on a very intense spiritual journey and facing really hard things, really like harder things than I've personally faced in some cases. So maybe I'm underestimating them, because trepidation and revelation would definitely be something. I'm thinking of some of the more recent ones that would work. But anyway, that's just to say. So maybe I should Sharpie this deck. I just never have, but it kind of just doesn't need it. It's a very similar cardstock, but it's a little bit more robust. Yeah, this is the deck. This is the card that's been on top, because I haven't come back to this yet, but I didn't want to put it away either, because I love this card. And I realized one day as I was sitting that I had these two sitting together. And they'd been sitting, just creating a lovely atmosphere for me. And I realized they were creating a great part of the comfort that I feel when I sit down at my desk. Isn't that lovely? So I am flowering. What does she say? That's right. It's Chloris. And I do come back and read it every now and again. So the challenge is adversity and the gift is transmutation. How beautiful is that? The way these two work. Joy and the quote at top says, joy and pride of plants and the garden's glory, beauty's blush it brings to the cheek of meadows, draining fire and dew from the dawn for rarest color and odor. Yeah, Chloris was a Greek goddess and the beauty of flowers. One day she found the lifeless body of a woodland nymph. Quickly she breathed new life into the nymph and transmuted her into a flower. Chloris called out to her husband, asking him to rid the sky of clouds so that the nymph could be warmed by the rays of the sun, which allowed the flower to bloom. Aphrodite added beauty and named her the rose. Dionysus gifted an aroma of nectar, and the three graces gave the rose the eternal gifts of charm, joy, and beauty. Chloris was responsible for the flowering transmutations of many deities. This is a tale of the changing of a state of being and talks to us of the experience of leaving difficult and painful times behind us. A beautiful flowering always accompanies the act of changing and moving on to a new life. Yeah. So these two together have just been wonderful. I mean, I'm thinking they've been sitting like that. We're July 10th? Easily since sometime in June. Probably a month. At least 3 weeks, because that's been about the time that we've been embroiled in Supreme Court related madness, in the U.S. at least. So yeah, those two have been a delight. So there we go. I mean, I'm not in a real rush to put the 5 of lotuses back in my deck. Honestly, I'm happy having it there for the moment, and I'll probably go ahead and get some PVA glue at some point because I need it for bookmaking, which I'm feeling more and more called to do of late. I don't know if anyone else is seeing this as well, but this inconsistency has been pointed out by a few people. Do you see the difference it's maybe not so much between those two. Those two seem about the same. But there is a difference in color between, these two backings. One is darker, one is not. Yeah. Well, they know. I think I mentioned that as one of the issues raised. I just hadn't really been that aware of it myself. I was more fixated on the chips on the edges, and look at that, since I edged them. Yeah. Well, the good thing about Sharpies is that they just fix it, But they're aware. They're aware, and doing whatever they can. I think they're actually not just aware, but genuinely horrified by the situation. I don't think they'd had too many comments or complaints as yet about issues coming up with the deck, and now they're a little bit more up to speed on it. If anyone watching this has a copy of the deck and you're having issues with it and you want to talk to somebody, let me know and I will pass along Jen's details to you. She's very, very open and responsive and sincere. So, let me know. Again, I'm so in love with it, and I so love the reprinting. I love the black borders a whole lot. Yeah, I love everything about it. I love it. I don't even mind the cardstock. In truth, I kind of really like it. I just struggle with the chipping. And the size. That's the main thing. But anyway, there we go. There's that. Whoops. It really wants to read. I read every day with these. I do a draw with this one. Oh, yes, my darling. And with this one. And they talk to each other, the Dakinis and the Buddha, in the most wonderful way. And so in that respect, it's like having kind of like divine masculine and divine feminine talking to each other. And it's wonderful. This idea of space and white, as part of the that quality of space for the Dakinis is perfect and feminine. It's what the bell represents in Tantric Buddhism, is the feminine and space. And then we get this more masculine red, combined. It's beautiful. Anyway, I love them. They speak together and play together so, so, so happily. So there's that. And then, so now for my new book. It's not a book I wrote. I'm going to have to make some space here because I know this is not going to be an easy thing if I don't. I decided to, ages ago, I wanted a new journal, so I made one. Maybe I need to do this. Maybe we need to come up a little so we can have all of it. I don't know how far up that is. Maybe here? But yeah, so I made this lovely, marvelous book. If you've been watching my Buddha tarot videos, you would have seen this before. Sorry. This is a mandala, and it's surrounded in the rainbow light. I think if I were to do it over again, I would like use more than one like line of thread. I think I'd do it a little differently anyway to broaden the rainbow, but I don't mind it. I kind of really love it anyway. And we've got all 5 families here. So we've got the white Buddha family, which sometimes has the sort of blue light coming from it. This was done using indigo, like an indigo dye vat, and just plain muslin. Yeah. And a lot of these, 1, 2, 3 of these were done using the thread, and actually quite a bit of this too, in the rainbow, was done using the thread that comes wrapped around my Tibetan incense when I get it. It always has like a thread wrapped around it. And yeah, I don't know. They just smell good, and they're beautiful because they were used for incense, and so I tend to like them. So yeah, and then this was this poor bell is in my way here. I'm just gonna have to give it oops, there we are. Yeah, it's used, what am I talking about? Oh yes, this is a tea and rust dyed piece of fabric. The opposite side is also from that piece of fabric. So we have that kind of dual / non-dual theme going there, but it's subtle. It's very subtle. And then on the inside, this is, I've used a lot of recycled paper and eco-printed paper and everything, and I did Coptic binding on it. I'm happy with it. As many of you know, and some of you may not, I'm just not a perfectionist. I like things that are done well, but which are not perfect. So like where there were threads coming off of this, in some cases there's not, the ability to do that now, and I won't trim it. I know some of you will go nuts about that. That's how I roll. That's how I roll. Things in life are not perfect. The more we're able to tolerate them, the less we suffer. So there we go. But sometimes you can play with them as well. So I did sometimes, and played with like stitching around it, and just, yeah. Sometimes I just enjoy playing with stitch. So I was very specific and focused around how I did my little bindus or tea glaze, and then a little bit looser everywhere else. Yeah. So there we go. That's that. And then on the inside, before I fill it up with other stuff, I have some recycled wrapping paper for my end papers. So front and back. And this was used, as you can tell, like on somebody's wrapping paper. Oh, I glued that down so it wouldn't flap. Yeah, that was actually torn. This one wasn't. But yeah, those became the end papers. I love the wrapping paper because I like all the constellations. But I also just like the fact that it's recycled and it's imperfect to begin with. If that makes sense. Just makes me happy. And then we've got they're all wrapped in black paper so that it just has a kind of more uniform look from the end. You don't have to show your Coptic stitch binding. You can do it and then put it inside of another book cover and do that whole thing. But I like it like this. And let's see, on the insides, so I have written on some of these and some not. That is a weed that I love called Creeping Charlie, and I eco-printed it. And we've got paper bags, which I always love. This is a tanka from a calendar that I really love. So I'm going to journal about it on that side. And yesterday I started translating my chud text in here. I find writing stuff, I don't know if I'm the only person. I learned this when I was in seminary, and I wish I had really learned this when I was an actor still. I would have found it easier to remember lines if I'd just written my lines out and written chunks of the script, right? Copied them. When I was in seminary, we had to do a lot of copying. And write, restating, writing down, all of that. And I found it, initially I was like, oh, come on. And then I did it, and I was in shock at how effective it was in terms of learning something, understanding it differently, having it go in differently. So like, this is the first verse of the opening to the chud practice that I do. So I did it in the Tibetan transcript here, and then so this first one is Jigme Dulshug Chupe Naljornye. And so it's Jigme is fearless, Dulshug is vanquishing conduct, Chupe is who practices, and then Naljornye is who practices is Chupe Naljor, and then Nye is the yogini, right? So, yeah, it's cool. Oh, and the translates as I, the yogini, practicing fearlessly, right? And I kept the actual translation in pencil so that if I want to go back and be more specific and refine the way that it's been translated, I can do that. But I managed to get through quite a few of the verses like this. And then it'll fill a large part of this, what is it called? Signature. And there's the other part of the creeping Charlie weeds. But yeah, so, and then I played too with like layering papers. I don't know how they'll be used necessarily. I just knew that it was fun. So there's another wrapping paper. This was a wrapping paper from Christmas. I love it so much. One of our patients who's now become a friend brought it to us. I don't know where this one came from, but it sure is pretty. There we go. And then this paper, and then I don't know if it's going to show, but like the green here kind of picks up some of the green from the Creeping Charlie that got printed onto this paper when I did it. This is from several years ago, and it kind of picks it up. So that's why I put it together like that. It's so pretty. Oh, and then from Paul's Donuts is closed now, so I kind of wanted to put their donut bag in there. I think it came from a bag of just paper bags and stuff at my godmother's house. I think this was chicory. I'm pretty sure this was it was a chicory plant, but it wasn't a particularly like great print. It just kind of was subtle. Most of those end up in journals because they're not really frameable, but they're still pretty and subtle. So they just make good journal paper. There's another one. Oh yeah, that's the other part of the Creeping Charlie that works well with the green. That is a Trinley floof. There we go. So there's that. That made a nice layering. This is wrapping paper that I regard as kind of precious. It came on a package that was sent to me by Tammy Pie, and I love it. It was soaked through when it arrived, and I had to dry it out because I was worried that everything in the package might have been ruined, but it wasn't. And I loved the paper, so I saved it. And here I did some journaling and work on art projects. This was before I ever bound the book. I just created the signatures. I don't know what that was. It's just useful. Oh, there's more Creeping Charlie. There we go. It's rained, so I think actually it would be a good time to grab some more of it because it might... I tried printing with it recently and it didn't do very well because there wasn't enough water. But anyway, there's the other part of that one. And then, yeah, more from my new friend Chrissy. Yeah, more Creeping Charlie, some yellow. Oh, check this one out. Isn't that pretty? That was new wrapping paper from last Christmas. So yeah, it's all this kind of stuff. I don't think I have anything else that I put in here that's all that like startling or lovely. I mean, I always think the Creeping Charlie is pretty, that paper. Oh yeah, we've seen that. Okay. Yeah, there we go. United States postage, some more of that paper. So a way too, like some of you might be thinking, well, that's really nice and everything, Nat, but then how do you write on pieces of paper where there's like a lot of print on it, or it's, you know, whatever. And the way, I had to patch it over here, and then the patch kind of didn't stick all the way. I might have to mess with that because there's a rip in that one. But it's kind of charming still. Is that just me? I know Candy probably feels the same way as me about it. Candy from Soul and Soil. Yeah, for those of you who seem like, Nat, how do you write on a piece of paper like this? Well, I say in response, I may put something else on top of it, or I might take some white gesso and just gesso over it very gently, which creates a nice matte, translucent finish, and then I can write on it if I need to, right? That's lovely. Oh my gosh. That was from Bindweed. And you can actually see it. That turned out better than I thought it did. Wow. Okay. Let's see. Any other pretty papers? This was kind of pretty. I think that came from an artist, local, like other artist person who was like, I'm just not going to use this paper. Do you want it? And I was like, sure. So it's kind of folded in there. Oh, here's a nice one. That one's pretty. And it looks good. See, you consider the signatures when you're creating the book, and then when you do it, you know, it makes for a really pretty interior. There we go. That's more chicory, I think. It might be a mix of things, but I'm pretty sure it was chicory. Yep, there's that. More of that paper. Yep. More of this one. This came from a client's house. They were given a present and they were going to just throw it away. And I was like, wait, I love wrapping paper. Ooh, that's pretty. Yeah, here we are. Just some nice things to look at. More of this. Oh, I love this one. This came off of an Aveda box. And I can't really use Aveda products anymore, so it's nice just to have that and incorporate it. It's such a pretty green, and it's like embossed paper. I don't think that shows up. Well, I don't know, but it may not show up. More Creeping Charlie, but bigger leaves. And a different, it might have been a different batch. More of the end papers in there. I don't know what baby caps means, but again, that was probably in my godmother's bunch of paper bags that she didn't want anymore. More Creeping Charlie. Yeah. I don't know. That's more of that, more of the chicory and Creeping Charlie, obviously. I can see some Creeping Charlie leaves in there. What else? More wrapping papers. I liked it with that green. Schnucks is our local grocery store. Ooh, there we go. Oh, you know what that is? That's a sticker. That's a plant that's like it's carpet weed. That's what we call it, carpet weed. That's what that is. That year it was sticking all over Noah when he'd go out for walks. And so that might be one I actually pulled off of him and thought, I'm just going to try, you know, I'm just going to try printing it and see what happens. Because, you know, it's worth an experiment. Let's see. Oh, more wrapping paper from one of my clients' houses. It's just like, if you're going to throw that out anyway, could I just take that? There's more of this. This came from that artist locally. Yeah. Oh, here's a pretty one. This was a present I gave my dad, and I just kept the paper because it was pretty and put a bunch of green Tara stuff on there. yeah, I think we're just about kind of done with all the fun stuff. So there we go. Anyhow, that's my new book. I'm excited. It's kind of a journal / grimoire. I think in order to create a grimoire, you kind of just have to journal a lot. Write down your practices, write down the things that you create, the things that you do, the things that you work with, and eventually, you know, creating a more formal kind of grimoire might be possible. So that's kind of where I'm headed with it, I think. Yeah. Anyway, there's a little informal chit-chat morning ramble. I don't think there's much more to tell. Is there? I don't know. This is another one I did while we're playing book that kind of I intentionally made very similar. I don't know how well that comes across, but yeah, it's very similar. And this one is one that I made for a retreat back in 2018. And then, yeah, I still write in it. It became my Vajrayana notebook journal. So yeah, they're intended to kind of go together because they're holding important notes and information about my practice. So there we go. I did just, even though I'm kind of depth-earing it with my Robert in Place decks, oh, I could show you my journals. Some of the ways that I've been journaling besides this that are a little bit more organized and less random. So this is how I've been organizing like a lot of the practices that I do. So I've been copying my translating work from this book, but this is where I've been keeping a lot of my, you know, various, you know, when I take a course or a class or something with my Tara Mandala teachers, you know, I end up like putting them in one of my, I bind them like this and with disc binding and then keep them. So that's one of them that I've been working with. And then this is now my disc journal for Mariel Tarot, Buddha Tarot, and Tantric Dakini oracles. So this has been playing a big role of late, right? So I've got, oh, this one's from Tantric Dakini, but for the Buddha Tarot, oh, that was a new set of notes I started making. You know, having the one page at the start where I write like the what's in the little white book, and then, you know, at the top, and then I divide it with, you know, with something like this, with a piece of tape, pretty tape. The metallic ones I just have liked for this. And then, yeah, as I draw them, I've been writing them in. And I made this, like, I don't know, a couple years ago, in 2020, and started it, and then recently was like, whoopee, let's restart this, and started doing it again. So it's less like writing the meanings down. That doesn't help me as much. Although I say that, what did I just do with my copying project there? So maybe I need to eat my words. But yeah, what I end up doing is like journaling and just relating to the card. I'm just trying to get that personal contact with it, because I can memorize meanings and ideas when there's a picture very easily. But what I do struggle with is, you know, it's good to really cement that in there when you draw it. You just never create that personal connection until you draw the card, right? So castles in the clouds. And yeah, with the Dakini Oracle, like as I draw them, then I write them in. And sometimes I include updates because I'll write my immediate response, and then later in the day there's something else that comes up and I put it in there. So that's how I've been journaling lately. I foresee continuing to work with the Buddha Tarot and the Tantric Dakini Oracle, which used to be called the Secret Dakini Oracle. I kind of wish they'd kept that. And I also kind of wish they'd kept that design on the book and deck, but they didn't. They translated it to Tantric Dakini Oracle, and then, you know, they're using photos from the book, you know, regarding the spread, the big spread that they use in here. And it's a good spread. But as you can see, I've been going to town on writing in here. The deck interview was mind-blowing. I still need to like properly journal that out. Yeah, it's just such an awesome deck. And there's some really cool spreads, and then they do sample readings like of how to interpret. So it's just incredibly detailed. And I've been getting a lot out of it. So there we go. Okay, I think we're officially at a stopping point. Coming up, I'll have some videos of some newer decks that I got, even though it is kind of a depth year. I did just get the mini Santa Muerte from Llewellyn. I acquired a copy of the Empath's Oracle, which has been shockingly good. Shockingly good. What else did I grab? Oh, I have two. Oh, yeah. Oh, I forget. Okay, so I did get a copy, too, of the Burning Serpent Oracle by Rachel Pollack and Robert M. Place, which is amazing. The book itself is worth its weight in gold. You can order the book by itself without the deck, so if you're just a Lenormand geek and you just want the book, you can get it. I also got the Alchemical Tarot Renewed 6th edition, and I talk about why in the video unboxing, which is coming soon. It's filmed and uploaded. It just needs to come out. Oh, and I also grabbed a hold of the Asherah Tarot by Sarah Wheatley, and I completely love this deck. I'm completely in love with it, and I'm not prepared right now to do the deep dive I want to do with it. So I leave it sitting here so I don't forget that it's here, waiting for me, waiting for that deep dive. So I'm just having so much fun with Robert M. Place right now, and getting so much out of his decks and his work. So I really will probably spend the rest of this year at least doing that, I'm sure, in my practice. So anyway, talk to you all soon. Hope this was fun. Bye.